sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Um, gonna jump into continuing to recap HBO's Your Honor, starring Bryan Cranston, Hunter Dewey, and Carmen Ejogo, and what's my man, Isaiah Whitlock Jr. So the third episode, it looks like they're just keeping it very simple with the episode titles. It's just part three. I'll try to keep this kind of brief. I just got what, 6 or 7 things to talk about. Not gonna go too in depth with all of them, but I thought this episode kind of slowed down just a little bit. Nothing to take away from the momentum that the show is building or where I am with it right now in terms of my interest level. It's a solid show, and I like how it's kind of well grounded. And I mentioned the little issues that I did have with how they were, the man undressing the brother in court. To have him stripped down to take a look at gang signs was very unbelievable. Almost or equally or more than Cranston becoming a defense attorney for Kofi's mother in the first episode. But that's neither here nor there. One thing that I'm a little confused about, I thought they said, and I know they couldn't have made this error, and I got to go back and watch. But I thought they made it like Kofi had Rocco Baxter's phone on him. I thought either Costello, the detective, or somebody said something that he had the deceased's phone on him when he was picked up with the car. I just thought he had it in his phone. I thought he had the directions set to take him to the scrap yard. Because Adam threw Rocco's phone into the river or the ocean or whatever, or the lake, the body of water. So I'm a little confused at that point. I got to go back and check that out. Like I said, I'm pretty sure they didn't leave that error in there, but that's what I thought they were saying. So kind of talking through this one, we kind of see the continuation of the cleanup effort from Bryan Cranston's character. And he's kind of getting an idea of how many loose ends, he might have to take care of, how many lies he has to tell, how he has to keep all of this straight, just manipulate, how he has to manipulate each person, to go back and find this the footage at the gas station. Now you got to go get this. Driver's license number from the car that was behind Adam. You got to chase that person down. You got to find a way to manipulate them. And then just to get that person's name and address, he might have to manipulate or use somebody in the system that creates another loose end, another mouth that can talk. So it just seems like he could get out of his depth pretty quick. And already we saw early in here where, Charlie, Isaiah Whitlock Jr. is like, bruh, like, you're my best friend and everything, but I got things going on. I can't be exposed like this. And now you getting a conscience over this kid from the streets, being behind the wall for this situation. Like, hey, you got to toughen up, and you started this. You gotta stick to it. So, and then you also see Adam is going through some things in terms of handling the guilt and not standing for what he did, and then also actually seeing this other individual that's taking the ride for what he set in motion. So there's a couple things at play. Point number 2, Kofi Jones. Isn't he like a mixture of D'Angelo and Wallace from The Wire? Like, I really like Kofi. I'm really dude doesn't really seem to be, into the streets simply for because there's nothing else that he could do. It just seems like he's a pretty witty guy and a witty young guy, and that's kind of just the reality of his situation. So he's making the most of it. But like I said, he was able to negotiate with and he's aware of things. He's not a dumb brother. He said something about speaking Latin to Lee Delamere, Carmen and Jogo. So he has some charisma, man. Like I said, he's quick on his feet. He can be charming. And he's just so vulnerable, man. He's sitting there in that evaluation room or whatever when the cop walked him in, or when the CO or whatever, the sheriff walked him into that office and left him. And again, he's very sharp. He picks up on the fact that something is up, and he sees the officers walk away, and then he sees the two inmates making their way towards him. He already knows what's up. And I really thought he was at least gonna get injured and beat up. But the other officer came in just in time and intervened. So, but I like the dude, man. He seems to be sharp. The actor himself, he seems to be playing the hell out of the role and just kind of, we just getting to know who he is. But and then as a character, he's doing what he has to do for his family. He's doing what he has to do for his own survival. He's trying to learn the rules on the job, on the fly, and trying to use the fact that he's a pretty thoughtful cat. So I'm rooting for him, man, but it gets bad for him in this episode in a way. Next point, we starting to see that Charlie has some teeth. Like, Michael Desiato is the judge, Bryan Cranston. He's worried about not running afoul or not becoming a rival of the Baxter family, involved with take it to whatever level they have to. But here on the same token, Charlie is like, it shows you how, I wouldn't say corrupt, but he's willing. It's survival of the fittest, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to protect his career, his ambitions, and he's fought to be what he's on the cusp of getting ready to do. And he's not. He stood tall when he needed some help, and didn't even ask any questions. Didn't run no risk analysis on nothing. He just said, I'll take care of it. So now in return, you got to carry this and make sure that we're all good here. But didn't he ask him, like, why are you talking to me like that? And he's like, nah, this is this is the real me. This is how it is. So I thought that exchange was pretty interesting when they were at the barbershop. D Delamere, Carmen and Jogo. I didn't realize she was married to Jeffrey Wright. And they have some children together, I think two. I didn't know. I like her. I liked her in True Detective. She was also in a season of The Girlfriend Experience. I kind of like her. But she has a lot of go as far as being a good attorney. And, she knows how to play rough. She knows how to be firm. She's intelligent. She can get things accomplished. And again, it's another person that Michael gets involved in this situation that loves what they do. He just asked her to go look in on my man Pro Bono on Kofi and get his sentence reduced. He's 5 to 30. 5 years to 30 is the range. And he's just like, trying to save some face and atone for this whole situation. Can you keep him closer to that 5, or is there anything creative that can be done? And she's like, I can make this go away altogether based on what I know. So that presents another problem. And you heard Charlie was like, "Look, the only way you're gonna be able to control a woman like her is to, be involved with her romantically." And so now he may have to, now that he understands where, because him being, because Kofi being free isn't really a good, it isn't really a great thing either. But he's seeing now that he might have to really go out here and do something really deceiving, and really cunning in getting involved with this woman who he may not be, because of his wife just being gone, passed away just on a year and whatnot. He might not be comfortable with getting involved with her romantically and going down that road. We already see him, and I think it was the opening scene where he was the guy in the. Isn't that weird? How do you feel about that? Seeing an actor in character acting. It always looks weird how these actors and some of your better actors can do that. It's kind of like being a bad actor, acting to be a bad actor, because it's so obvious to us on watching it on the screen, but in real life, they have to be convincing enough to get done whatever they're trying to accomplish. So I thought that was always unique to see how characters handle that. Because it's like listening to the director, like, so this is the scene. Oh, you mean I actually got to act like a horrible actor or a C-level actor or something? That's what I have to do basically. Yeah, that's to make it believable. That's just a little ironic. Next thing, we learn a little bit more on Desire. I don't know if that's the name. I'm watching him. Is he gonna? We're gonna look out for your family, but if you become too much of a headache, I got somebody that I'm answering to, and I need to be able to be. I need to be able to deliver and good information and say what I'm about, and I'm not hearing the right things from what I'm hearing with the people inside and whatnot. So maybe not only do we have to turn our back on your family, maybe we got to cut losses or cut our ties with you. So Kofi is just in this really vulnerable situation, hanging between a couple of the law, the Baxter family, and Kofi. I mean Desire. So it's a lot to watch right there. And we see that Desire is getting, like around the clock updates on what's going on. And I just wonder when he just makes the determination that, hey, I ain't got to be bothered with all of this. I got other stuff going on. We also realize now, for those that you didn't, those of you who might not have read ahead or looked at a different source, the girl that Adam was sleeping with in the first episode, or the female that he was sleeping with at his house while his dad was out jogging, is actually his teacher. And I believe he's a high school kid. But where are we with that? So you're already doing something that's a little questionable, morally, I guess. Maybe it's no big deal to some people, but you're involved intimately with your teacher. Now you're in this other situation that you intentionally, in saving your own ass, you you started this whole situation, and now you want to flip the script on it and whatnot. I don't know, but anyway, we see now that that's his teacher, and his father has a pretty decent rapport with her. So it'll be interesting how that might come into play late. You also saw when Adam started, when he felt that when he was compelled to share what he's going through, like he needs to confess it to somebody, and he goes to tell her immediately. The teacher is like, hey, I can't know this. I don't want to hear this. I didn't hear this. I can't be the one that you bring this to. But he's in such a bad situation with it that he just comes out with it, and now it is what it is. Another loose end for him and his father. Another thing, we kind of learned some more about the Baxter family, and the mother is turning out to be very cold uh, and calculating, and she's definitely, you know, on the street stuff. She's like, we need to strike hard, we need to make a statement, and she puts the bug in her son's ear and puts some things in place to set it up to where this other son, an older son, Carlo, who's 2 weeks away from being released, with him being put in the same facility as where Kofi is, and now being given instruction. That's why I'm still bugging off like last week. Like, why did they need the cops? I believe actually worked for the one detective worked for the Baxter family. So why was it so imperative that they lock Kofi up versus maybe they finding some way to set him free, getting back on the streets, and then just let the family deal with him as they want to? And at the same time, they're still kind of we have the I guess we're waiting on the DNA, or what was the information that was on the inhaler that would point them to the Desiotos. But then they still really believe that this whole situation was retaliation for Rocco hurting some brother, from the Desire crew and whatnot. So I'm a little confused in the triangle right there and whatnot. But it is going the way that it's going. So it's nothing that I'm too concerned about. So other than that, I thought there was one other thing that I thought was interesting. The detective Costello. Again, she's another one that's a little too much of a hard charger. She's over at the house taking fingerprints, and the judge is very concerned about where that could lead to, because it's more boxes that he has to consider, and ends that he needs to go out and get addressed. The other thing is, we still have that bloody towel that's underneath the couch that the dog brought in and was messing around with. So that's that. And then that's about it. Yeah, that's really it. So like I said, it was like 6 things that I took away from the third episode. I see that the show isn't really doing all that good on Rotten Tomatoes in terms of the not the media, but like the critics, the paid critics or the professional critics. I think they have a Rotten Tomato score of like high 40s. See if I still had that pulled up. Yeah, not even high 40s. They have it at 41% right now on their tomato meter. The average audience score is 79%, which isn't too hateful, but I think the show is pretty interesting. You know what I'm saying? I would say it's maybe in the higher 80s for me, maybe 87. I don't really have a problem with it. Like I said, this episode did slow down quite a bit. Oh, and that's it. We get a nice cliffhanger with the show kind of slowing down just a tad. At the end of this one, we actually see Kofi getting some counseling from an elder who explains to him that while they might be at the top of the food chain in the streets, and then what was that, the third ward or wherever they were, while they might control that area, that they don't have the type of juice to oppose the Baxter family in any way. And again, I'm watching this guy like, he's got this bird that he was dissecting earlier in the show of how they get the drugs into the facility and whatnot. Okay. But he's sitting here. I'm keeping an eye on him to see, is he going to be the one that gets assigned the task of taking Kofi out? I don't know. But Kofi, like I said, he's quick on his feet. He processes this, and he actually, however he sets it up, at the end of the show, he goes to confront. I didn't know. I had an idea, kind of what he was doing, but I didn't know if he was called for, summoned by Carlo, or if he was going to. I don't know. But anyway, he walks around the corner and we see him confront Carlo, who's in a cell, and he walks forward into the light and says, "Hey, I'm Kofi Jones. I'm sure you know who I am and what I'm all, and why I'm important, or why you know my name. But now you can put a face to it, and we have a cliffhanger of, do they go to throwing blows? Does he come clean? And if he does come clean, what are the implications of that for for as a new wrinkle for everybody?" So, and then the other wrinkle that I kind of sped by was the fact that Lee, I'm sorry, has actually, based on this police brutality detail that she's aware of and can prove, if you don't let this young man go, because he already told her, I'm not changing my plea. And she was like, well, she heard her own thing and was like, well, I don't even need you to change your plea. I can just get this whole thing thrown out altogether and do what I got to do and be done. Because she thinks she's doing the right thing, because she understands, based on the physical evidence that's right in front of her, she knows that his testimony or his plea was compelled from being, brutalized and whatnot. So that's another thing that's, again, does not help the Desiotos. So anyway, went longer than expected as usual. But I'm digging the show and looking forward to next week and, part 4. And we'll go from there. Again, pay me no mind. Sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you had to start to be great. Enjoy the rest of your week.